my name is Mary and I also go by the Healing Cave Lady. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Today is going to be an interesting episode. I'm talking all about emotional release and something that I had to personally work through for my own healing. And this is not something that has been taught to me. It's basically little clues and things that I have found throughout the healing realm, and I kind of put them all together into a breathing / exercise / forgiveness tool that I use to get healthy. So if you're interested in letting go of some emotional trauma and getting not only like a self-closure for yourself, but to actually get rid of the physical burden of that emotion, keep watching. Basically, I wanted to do this video because these techniques are something that I have been using that have really taken my healing to the next level. I personally, I've talked about it before. I have Lyme disease, mold, SIBO, I mean, all of these things against me in life. I just had my root canals ripped out, missing teeth, and I am healing and I'm moving forward from that, and it's going really, really well. But something that a lot of people don't know or realize, how the brains differ between a male and a female brain. Everybody could say, oh, they're probably the same, you know, they weigh the same amount, all that stuff. Okay, it's all different. It doesn't matter who you are. You can research that a male's brain and a female's brain actually operates differently. So Dr. Caroline Leaf is a neuroscientist, and she writes all of these amazing books on neuroplastics and changing your brain, and changing how it functions and how it works, and creating a better brain to create a healthier human, basically. She pretty much saved my life when my brain was in the dumps and I was making myself very, very sick with my emotional thinking. And a light bulb went off. One day, I was listening to one of her podcasts, and when she said that there are 1,400 chemical toxins that get dumped into your body when you think on anything negative or fear-based for longer than a 10-minute period of time, up to 1,400 chemical toxins are created in the brain that plague your body. I listened to another cancer doctor that was interviewed by Dr. Mercola, and he said a bad thought or a nasty thought or a fearful thought is worse than any bug that you can ever catch. And it is so true. Our brains are capable of killing us if we allow it to, if we let our thought life go there. So for me, I had realized, you know, raising a sick son on the autism spectrum with pandas, not feeling like a parent that could do the job, and then having another child, and then becoming sick myself, I became so overwhelmed with my thought life. And I became so down and so depressed, and it was the sickest I ever been in my life. And I remember feeling literally like, I can't handle this. I cannot live. I didn't want to take my life. I just had no desire or hope for a good one. I remember listening to Dr. Caroline Leaf talking about that and switching your brain, and I read the book, Switch on Your Brain, and it clicked in me when I realized that my thoughts are what were not only destroying my happiness, but were destroying my health. I realized that something had to change. And then I listened to a talk on her other book, and it was the male brain versus the female brain. So if you understand how the female brain works, you will understand why we have so many issues with depression and our health. So basically, a female brain works like an accordion file. So what we do is we store information, and if any information resonates within us or something triggers us, it opens up this accordion file of every time we've ever felt like that or something like that has happened before. So we have this predisposition of, if something triggers post-traumatic stress or something that might have happened to us in the past that was unpleasant, that makes us think in a negative or fearful way, every single time that we're reminded of it, it triggers those doors opening, and then all of a sudden we're dumping stress toxins and fear toxins, and we're becoming sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker. And it's like a vicious cycle that's really hard to get out of, especially if there are people in your life, family members, no matter what it is, if something is triggering this stress or this reaction, you always feel like you're in this vicious cycle of being depressed and thinking poorly or bad or fearful or angry. Any of these emotions can cause that type of reaction. So something personally that I learned through physical therapists, when I was working with physical therapists, is that as women, we store our toxins from emotional stress in our hips. So there are some lymphatic portal, basically areas in the hips, kind of like in the groin here. Like if you're looking right here, it'd be right in here. And we store these emotional toxins there, and they can clog up our whole lymphatic system. Lymphatic fluid that's having a hard time circulating through our body and dumping toxins out because of this emotional stress that stops at our hips here. Seeing exercises and stretches and how you can work through those and get out this emotional stress, and I will touch back on that, but I wanted to talk about the accordion file brain, how our brains work and how the triggers work, so you can understand why we're going to talk about this emotional release and this exercise. So what I've realized with breath work is your breath basically drives your oxygenated blood through the body to heal it. And if you are breathing shallow all day long, that shallow breathing basically is storing all the toxins in your body and keeping your blood from rinsing them out of your organs, whether it's your intestines, whether it's whatever hurts in your body. It's keeping your body from being able to rid the toxins out and get that oxygenated blood and all the minerals and vitamins to wherever areas that they need to go. So what is so important is working on breath work, and I've done a video on breath work before, but this goes hand in hand with this emotional stress. We know if we're not deep breathing, then when we're sleeping, we're stressed out. And if we're stressed out when we're sleeping, we're stressed out during the day because we didn't get good sleep. And then we're dropping all kinds of stress hormones into the body, and we're stressed out 24/7, and then we are extra emotional in general. So breathing is very important. Stretching is very important, especially this area where we have the emotional stress toxins held. So this is more for women than men. But the emotional release part could be for men as well. If you have things that happen, you have family members that wrong you, you have people in your life that wrong you, there are people that, maybe have just done some horrible things. And you go through these traumas, and then you have triggers for these traumas that pull them up. And basically they have created these neural pathways that when you think or are triggered to remember them, it pulls up all these times that these things have ever happened, and then you're dumping all of this toxins into your body, and you have to stop it. And I found personally for me, I'm not like God. I can forgive, but I can't forget. So what do you do with that? I have found in my life, the best thing that I possibly can do is create a backstory, is invent a reason for somebody to act the way they did to me. So what I personally do is, I know I'm working on emotional work in the morning. I start with stretching and breathing. And the most important thing is to get those hips warmed up. So I start with that, to just open the hips and get them going. And the pose that I end in is actually, it's called pigeon. It's the area that opens the hips up the most, and it gets the most oxygenated blood to push through, and I make sure I do it on both sides. So the emotional exercise right before I do pigeon is what I call the emotional release. So say this is the scenario. Say you might have been raped. So maybe you'd been raped, and you are forgiving this person. You don't need to tell them, you don't need to talk to them. This is for you, not for them. So you're forgiving them. So what you do is, maybe you have even a little cheat sheet. You have the person, the offender, the feelings of what they did that is causing. So maybe it's anger, maybe it's hopelessness, whatever it is, you write those feelings out. And then you create an excuse. You create you invent the most elaborate excuse on why they would do that. So create something good, believable, because guess what? When you create this, what happens in your mind is your mind doesn't know it's not true. Your brain doesn't understand that it's not true. You are feeling this, but guess what? This person, maybe they watched their mother get abused when they were a kid. They watched horrible things happen to their mother, and they thought that this was some kind of form of love, and this is how to show love. And maybe they did that because they had no power and they were powerless and they were beaten as a child, and they did this to get power and they thought this was a loving thing to do, and they just didn't understand. Whatever it is, you create the most elaborate excuse for them. And then you think on that excuse, you build this case of why they would do something like that. And take yourself out of such a situation. Just be like, you know what? This person was so abused, they were so this, they were so that they did this, and guess what? I forgive them. Like, they were in a horrible situation. They don't understand what love is. They didn't understand why they needed to do this. They thought they needed power, whatever it was. You create an amazing excuse for them. And then you get into your stretch. And like I said, I do pigeon because I am trying to release the emotional stress that is being stored in my hips. And I'm telling you women, you know this, you get in this pose and sometimes you literally feel like crying. Like, you know that like, you're like, something is going on, like in my body right now when I'm in this stretch. So I get in a pigeon. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can have your knee pointed forward, and I lean forward and I just get down and I say, I forgive that person. You don't have to say it out loud. You can say it in your head. I forgive them completely. The paper and tear it up. You can burn it. You can do whatever you want with it. I wouldn't keep it. I would get rid of it and focus on one thing at a time and just get into a deep, deep stretch. Stretch that hip out, breathe deeply into it. Do not hold your breath while you're doing this. You can practice the 4-7-8 breath while you're doing this. It's gonna be a lot harder. It is so important because you are moving toxins that have been stuck there since this event happened. And I'm not even kidding. You're moving toxins that are plaguing your body, that are blocking your lymphatic system, these emotional stress toxins again, because you're creating a covering for that person. You're creating a case. It's almost like you're their attorney. And all of a sudden, your feelings are gonna change towards that. And sometimes it takes time, and sometimes it's a lot faster than you think, but when your brain recalls that thing that happened, all of a sudden they have a case that you have in your head. Not only that, if you go one step further and you think on gratitude, if you can add gratitude to the situation, you are opening up a new neural pathway. You are closing that rabbit hole that you've always gone down, and you're opening up a new neural pathway that is going to create health and bliss. And you watch, I swear this works. I swear this works. So I'll get into the pose and maybe I'll forgive that person, the thing, the act, whatever it is. And then I say, and I'm so grateful that it happened to me above anybody else, because I am so strong that I can handle it. I can get through it. I can make it a triumph. It can be like, I can handle this. And that's why it's okay. It's I'm thankful that this happened to me and not somebody else that couldn't handle it. If you end on gratitude at the very end, it changes that neural pathway. Something else is gonna light up in your brain. It's opening a new neural pathway that is going to be one of health. It's literally gonna change your life. That I have just been working on with myself. And good pose for breathing when you're practicing any kind of emotional release is called a frog squat, or they call it malasana. You can sit on a block and get down in a squat like this, or if you're really good at it, I'm on an acupressure mat here. I really, really love this acupressure mat. I think it's called Grapes. But if you can get in a squat and practice the breathing like this, nowhere else for the oxygen to go but into those hips to breathe in this way. But if you practice it, you'll get good at it. So you can use a block, or you can opt not to use a block, but you get down into a squat and try to do your deep breathing. So maybe 4 seconds in, 7 seconds hold, 8 seconds out, and just practice your breathing. You only have to do it 3 times. Practice your breathing in each pose 3 times. But get into a couple poses where you're just opening up your hips and stretching them out and practice that breathing technique at least 3 times. And then I would concentrate on one emotional release at a time, just so you're not overwhelmed. But you could work on 1 or 2, just like do what feels good to you and what causes that emotional release for you. Because basically, anytime you think about that thought again or that feeling, it's going to be different, because now your brain has this case that's covering that person's sin. And like I said, you know, God can do that and he can forget, but we don't forget. And the only way we're going to change our mind about it is if we create that backstory. And the only way, even if you don't believe it at first, you know it's not real, your brain doesn't know the difference. Just like if you watch a horror movie, your brain thinks you are in that horror movie. If you watch something negative, if you're around negative people and hear them talking negatively, your brain doesn't know that those people aren't talking about you. So obviously you have to really pay attention to the people you hang out with and put yourself in good situations so that you can be in a healing state. Also, hang out with people that believe in healing and your body's innate ability to heal. Like, our bodies were created brilliantly to heal, and we really get in the way. So learning new tricks and tips to enable yourself to just let go and to stop and put a halt to these stress toxins that are being dumped that are really causing more damage than, like I said, any bug or anything we're exposed to. I really think that that negative thinking or the emotional stress causes more damage than anything out there. They say stress toxins or stress in general causes more damage to the body than anything it's ever exposed to. So that is what stress toxins are. We are putting ourselves in fight or flight mode constantly because we have a lack of oxygen to the brain. That's something that we can control too. Breathing is the only thing that we can control during the day that we can at night. So when you're sleeping at night, your breath is going to be steady and normal, kind of like it is during the day. So if we're extending the breath during the day, if we're holding oxygen in our low diaphragm, it's going to stretch that muscle out so it does the same thing when you are sleeping at night involuntarily. And that is the goal. Oxygen to the brain, to the body, is really what is healing. When there's a lack of oxygen in the body, when you have blockages, not only energetically, but physical blockages, cancer comes in and sickness comes in and degeneration of the cell and pain. So oxygen is one of the most important things, but if you really stretch, you forgive, you create new neural pathways, and you end on gratitude, it's going to change your life. So I know it's different, it's weird, there's nobody out there talking about anything like this, but the way that it's changed my life is significant, and the health that I've seen come from it is so important. So I thought I would share with you. Have a wonderful day. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment below, and turn on your notifications so you know when I drop a new video, because it does not happen very often. Have a wonderful day. Bye.